Okay, let's jump right in. We've got this stack of material focusing on one character's journey, Faith, and it's pulled from excerpts of the Danielle Steele novel Answered Prayers. Boom. So, our mission today, take this source material, unpack Faith's experience through what is, well, a really challenging time in her life. We want to look at the relationships shaping her and, find those surprising ways she starts to get her voice back and deal with some major crises.
And what's really interesting about this source, even though it's fiction, is how it taps into these incredibly relatable human things.
Hmm.
Like its search for purpose later in life, right? How complex long-term relationships get, dealing with loss. And sometimes how support just appears from unexpected places when things fall apart. We're basically digging in to find those moments of insight, those little aha moments that might resonate with you.
Exactly. We're treating it like any deep dive getting to the core ideas. Let's see what Faith's story tells us. So we first meet Faith when her life feels, well, really stagnant. Her daughters, Zoe and Eloise, they're out of the house, and the narrative makes it super clear she's feeling uh, kind of purposeless, just adrift.
Yeah, and right alongside that empty nest feeling
Right.
is her marriage to Alex.
Yeah.
The description is pretty stark. Remote, zero communication, no affection, and he's just constantly dismissive of her.
Mm.
The sources use phrases like he dismissed her or that he lived in a world that didn't include her, and that detail about how he seldom touched her and rarely spoke.
Wow. Just shorthand and staccato words, that really paints a picture.
It really
Then
does.
there's that line where she feels she had served her purpose, done her job, and been dispensed with. It's brutal. It's not just the kids leaving. It's like her whole value in the marriage is just gone.
hmm And the power dynamic is laid bare. Faith sees it as a dictatorship where Alex has veto power over everything she did. So it's not just distance, it's
Okay.
control.
Yeah, complete control. That feeling of being dispensed with makes total sense then.
Okay, so then something happens. A catalyst, really, her stepfather, Charles, passes away.
Hmm.
The funeral scene, Faith sees the open casket, notes he looks so small. There's that specific moment of sadness.
And funerals, well, they often bring people together in unexpected ways, don't they? This is where Faith reconnects with Brad Patterson, childhood friend, but also, importantly, a friend of her brother Jack, who died.
Exactly. And seeing Brad, it's like an immediate link to Jack. The source says it felt as though Jack was also in their midst. He's comfort, he's a connection to maybe a happier time.
And what's interesting is Brad isn't exactly living the dream either. We learn he's also unhappy, married to Pam, who's apparently all about money and her career.
Right. Their relationship lacks intimacy. It specifically mentions they haven't made love in 5 years. So you see this immediate kind of barn forming,
Hmm.
shared unhappiness maybe, and that shared past.
Definitely seems like it.
So this mix of loss, this reconnection, and that huge void in her own life, it seems to spark something in Faith. She starts thinking about going back to law school at 47.
Yeah, she wants something with more substance. Makes sense. She needs something for her.
But Alex's reaction? Completely predictable, given everything else. He calls it ridiculous. Flat out tells her, you don't start law school again at 47. Just utter contempt.
Ugh. It's not just disagreeing, it's tearing it down.
Exactly. And then you get the complete opposite from Brad. Alex shuts her down. Brad's like, screw Alex.
Mm.
Tells her he has no right to stop you. And crucially, you need a life too.
That contrast is huge. It shows who really sees her.
hmm And this is where Faith starts pushing back, even if it's small at first. Despite Alex, she secretly signs up for LSAT prep, some initial classes.
It's her way to take back the power, this source says, and it actually helps her depression. It's like this quiet little rebellion, a first step.
But, oh, it doesn't stay quiet. Thanksgiving dinner. The whole law school thing blows up. Alex brings it up pretty clearly to shoot it down in front of everyone.
Right, and boom, the daughters get pulled right into it. You see the family cracks right there.
Yeah.
Zoe jumps in, totally defending Faith, saying that's not a life for her and that her mom has the right to do what you want.
Good for Zoe. But then Eloise,
Mm.
she's described as very definitely daddy's girl.
Mm.
She actually sides with Alex, thinks law school sounds a little too demanding.
Ouch. That split must be so painful for Faith. She feels the high price of her dream, wrecking family peace.
Yeah, it mirrors the whole marital conflict.
Mm.
And it gets worse. Eloise decides not to come home for Christmas. And Alex, he disapproves it. Doesn't even talk to Faith.
So Faith feels completely shut out by her husband and one of her daughters. It shows how Alex uses Eloise really to hurt Faith.
So amidst all this family drama and feeling isolated, Brad comes to New York for a visit. And this visit, it really cements things between them.
They spend real time together, and the talk goes deep about their unhappy marriages. They actually say it out loud. We wouldn't be emailing each other for old time's sake if we had what we want in our marriages.
That's pretty direct. They're finding comfort in realizing they're not alone in their loneliness.
And they do these simple things like skating. The source says Faith hadn't had as much fun since she was a child. And going to St. Patrick's, lighting candles for Jack, praying to St. Jude Faith, calls him her guy.
It's sweet and it's meaningful, these shared moments. Brad even notices her faith, how it seems to sustain her, and kind of envies it.
Their connection is described as this deep comfort. Faith feels it's like being with Jack. Even better sometimes. That's huge.
Yeah, and that Brad is nourishing a deep inner part of her that had been hungry ever since Jack's death. It's clearly way beyond just friendship. It's filling this massive void.
It's almost like as their bond gets stronger, their actual marriages are simultaneously hitting breaking points, like parallel tracks.
Exactly. For Brad, it's sudden, a crisis. His son Jason gets seriously hurt in Africa. Brad drops everything, rushes over there. He's being the dad.
But Pam, his wife, her reaction is, wow. She prioritizes work, says she's tied up here, couldn't make it, to see her seriously injured son.
Yeah. And for Brad, that's it. That moment, Pam's reaction. The source says their marriage had died on that day. Just crystal clear, painful clarity.
And almost at the same time, Faith comes home from a class trip.
To find the evidence. Right there. Shoes, clothes in her closet, underwear, makeup. Just blatant proof Alex is having an affair in their home.
The violation of it, she's obviously devastated, feels sick, grabs her stuff and just flees to a hotel. Her whole world just shattered.
And the confrontation with Alex. It's chilling. When she finally faces him, he shows zero remorse.
Yeah.
Zero.
He just asks how her trip was. Seriously.
Yeah. And when she confronts him, he immediately flips it. Blames her, says she lost your rights in this marriage when you put our marriage on the back burner and went back to school.
Oh, classic blame shifting. Making her responsible for his actions because she dared to want something for herself.
Textbook manipulation. He admits the affair's been going on a year, speaks to her with that vicious tone, tells her it's none of your goddamn business.
Awful. Just awful.
And then he just leaves. Walks out. Doesn't say where he's going. Leaves her completely alone to deal with the bomb he just dropped. And she's left wondering, just for a second, if maybe it is her fault. That's the damage that kind of manipulation does.
So in the immediate aftermath, Faith's just trying to survive, right? Sleeping in Zoe's old room, trying to process everything.
And Zoe steps up big time. Finds out they're separated, and she is furious at Alex, but totally supportive of Faith. Says things like, he doesn't do a damn thing for you, Faith. She sees it clearly.
And Zoe even throws out this wild idea, maybe you should have an affair with Brad. Faith thinks it's totally insane, but maybe a tiny part of her is intrigued, or just glad someone wants her to be happy.
Could be. And Zoe's perceptive. She tells Faith she sees how her eyes sparkle and light up and dance when she talks about Brad. Kids notice those things, don't they?
They really do. It's like outside proof of what Faith is feeling.
And all through this mess, Brad is her rock. On the phone, Faith calls him a miracle in my life. Says he's always there. He's the support Alex never was.
Meanwhile, Alex is still being awful, trying to push her out of the house fast, and using Eloise to lay on the guilt, telling her Faith is ruining her life.
Of parental alienation. Just adds another layer of cruelty.
Then the truth about the affair gets even clearer. Zoe actually has dinner with Alex and meets the mistress, Leslie.
Right. Much younger, a receptionist. And Leslie drops the bomb, maybe accidentally. She mentions it's her and Alex's one-year anniversary.
1 year, so it wasn't some recent fling. It was a long-term planned deception. The source says Alex looked paralyzed. He got caught.
Totally exposed. And Zoe sees it instantly. Knows she has to tell Eloise. This is probably going to shatter Eloise's image of her perfect dad.
While that drama unfolds, the focus shifts back to Brad and Faith. Brad's back from Africa. The emotional connection is intense.
And then he says it. I love you, Fred, using her nickname. And they kiss.
Finally. But it's complicated for Faith. She realizes she loves him too, but it feels impossible. Forbidden, maybe? She's still technically married, so is he.
That forbidden fruit feeling. But Brad, he seems decided. Because right after flying home to San Francisco, he gets on another plane.
And flies straight back to New York, just to see her. Tells her, I came to see you, Fred. Says he's wasted a lot of years.
That's a massive gesture. He's basically saying, this is real. I'm choosing this. I'm choosing you.
So as the excerpts wrap up, Faith is kind of navigating this messy, complicated, brave new world.
Yeah, the reality hits. Divorce stuff, fighting over the house, Eloise is still angry, and Alex is definitely fanning those flames. All that stress is hitting her
But
schoolwork.
she's still going. That's key. She hasn't given up on that dream, that substance.
And Brad is consistently there, her miracle, her support system through all the chaos.
It really shows how tangled life gets. He's ending his marriage, she's fighting through the end of hers, and they're trying to build something new right in the middle of the wreckage.
And it's interesting, Brad admits he wasn't perfect in his own marriage,
Right.
turning a blind eye to Pam's affairs for years. It adds a layer of realism.
It does. It contrasts with Faith, who, once confronted with the truth, faced it head on even though it blew her life up. She chose the painful truth over staying stuck. Okay, so let's recap. We've seen Faith go from feeling lost, invisible in her marriage, to finding, well, unexpected strength. Reclaiming a purpose with law school, reconnecting with Brad, and navigating betrayal and divorce, it's quite a journey.
It really is. And the story, I think, powerfully shows how sometimes the biggest crises, loss, betrayal, can actually open up unexpected new paths. People like Brad and Zoe, they become these crucial anchors, right? They offer support, but they also kind of push face-to-face things.
Yeah, it's fascinating how she starts making choices for herself after feeling totally defined by her roles, by Alex's dictatorship, even when those choices cause upheaval.
Exactly. She shifts from being passive to active, finding her own power despite everything. And maybe that brings us to a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on from this deep dive.
Yeah.
How much of ourselves, our happiness, our desires, are we sometimes willing to sacrifice just to keep things stable, to maintain the status quo, even if that status quo is actually pretty rotten?
Mm-hmm. And what happens when life just intervenes, like it did for Faith and Brad, forces you to confront the reality you've maybe been trying hard not to see?
Right, when the universe kind of pushes you off the cliff you were standing too close to anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely a lot to think about there. The cost of comfort versus the cost of being true to yourself. That's it for this deep dive into Faith's story from Answered Prayers. We hope you found some useful insights, maybe a few surprises.
Until next time, keep asking those questions. Keep exploring the depths.